The Terminator chair by Cougar has to be one of the most interesting chairs I've seen to come out of the gaming category in a while. The crazy spine for the backrest is just one of the features that really piqued my curiosity. 3 questions I had though: does that spine do anything? Is the Cougar even comfortable? And if this chair was built well enough to support a $749 price tag? The first thing I said when I started to unbox the Cougar chair was,
"This is the most ridiculous base I've ever seen."
the base was made from aluminum, which was extra large in basically every direction, and that trend continued through the beefiest 3-inch casters I've seen come on any chair yet. When I pulled the backrest out of the box, I was super disappointed to see scuff marks throughout. And it didn't take long to see why it was scratched and scuffed, since they left a cylinder just sort of flopping around in the box. Now, the Cougar went together quickly, but because of its size and weight, I definitely recommend a second set of hands to hold this massive backrest when you attach it to the seat towards the end of the assembly process. If you want to fast track your search for the most comfortable office chair, check out our office chair comfort cheat sheet linked in the description. One of the first things that really stood out through this unboxing experience to the completion of the assembly was just how much chair was in the box. This thing is an absolute beast and feels like it was built like a chair that's $749. Now, I don't typically talk much about the base and wheels on a chair, but both of these are oversized compared to everything else we've tested. The wheels are 3-inch soft PU casters designed to work on carpet or hard surfaces, and the base might get in the way when seated because it's so bulky, but it might also give you that perfect perch since each leg is so wide. Moving up the chair, the mechanism appeared to be just average, but the actual seat and backrest was really nicely upholstered. Through the seat, there was additional molded plastic, which really didn't do much for the chair except for probably add to the cost and maybe make it look a little different from most bucket-style chairs. Now, the Cougar is upholstered in what they call a premium hyper dura leatherette. Now, even though this felt like marketing jargon, the upholstery definitely felt really nice and the stitching was excellent throughout. Once I got a chance to kind of spin the chair around, I had to take a closer look at that spine design on the backrest. A lot of structure was made from plastic, which made me think maybe this really isn't a functional piece of the chair. Now, Cougar advertises optimal lumbar support mechanisms to help eliminate stress and fatigue by exerting just the right amount of resistance against your lower back. Again, more marketing jargon, but maybe I was wrong, but we'd find out when I finally sat in the chair. Running through the adjustments on the Cougar, there was a multi-positional tilt lock that had its most upright position, but it was actually slightly reclined. There was also a middle lock position and a fully reclined lock position as well. Now, if you want to keep it unlocked, you can just adjust that tilt tension to accommodate your weight. The seat height adjustment range was kind of minimal, to be honest. The armrests are 4-dimensional with multiple buttons to activate the adjustments. Now, this is a nice feature to eliminate that unwanted movement, but can sometimes feel a bit cumbersome to use. The arms included height adjustment, depth adjustments, width adjustments, and pivot adjustments. Now, the closer the arms got to the backrest, they ultimately would hit the backrest as you pivot them around, but I did find that these arms were really solid on the Cougar. The headrest also has a pivot feature, which didn't include height adjustment, unfortunately, which to me is kind of interesting based on the sizing of this chair. There is some adjustment for the lumbar with a pillow system we see a lot of times on cheap gaming chairs. But to be honest, this really just kind of ruined the experience for me, which we'll cover in the comfort section next. It can be hard to know how comfortable a chair is just sitting in it for a short amount of time. Now, that's why this is definitely more of a first impression, and I'll be dropping a full review of my experience after 30 days using the Cougar. But first, sitting in the chair, I noticed right away this sit is very firm, and it really reminded me a lot of the Secretlab Titan with a bit different overall experience just because of the design of the seat, the backrest, headrest, and arms. The seat, though, is narrow, which is honestly a little surprising considering how massive this chair is. Now, this definitely could be restricting, especially if you have large legs or maybe a bigger bottom. Crossing my legs in the chair, it worked only because the side bolsters do have some give, but again, I'm not sure how comfortable this will be long term. The backrest, though, is exactly opposite of the seat, which is really wide, which sets up for an interesting frame to fit this design as it was created. Narrow hips and broad shoulders. I decided to add the lumbar pillow to the backrest. It again has some height adjustment, but this thing is super cheap and attached with straps similar to pads found on like $100 gaming chairs. When I tried to use the chair this way, the lumbar just pushed me so far out I couldn't reach the upper portion of the backrest or use the headrest. In my opinion, avoid this, especially considering this chair actually has a really nice natural curve in its backrest, much better than the flat designs I've seen on all other bucket gaming chairs. Now, if you're a spine sweater, rejoice here, because the Cougar has a mesh cutout in the backrest for added breathability. The only problem with this is it isn't super comfortable since your back sort of falls in the hole. This must not be a surprise for Cougar though, because they've included a random formed foam pad to plug in the hole. And while this is a more comfortable setup, it definitely looks and feels cheap compared to the rest of the chair. The armrests on the Cougar are rock hard, and this likely will help them hold up well over time, but don't plan on anything plush here. The headrest though, this is a super interesting feature. It doesn't offer true height adjustment, but rather a pivoting motion. We'll call it a neck cranker. I don't even know if cranker's a word here, but upright in the chair, I can get it to fit my height, although Ryan, who's a few inches shorter, had trouble getting it into a comfortable position. When you recline back in the chair to relax and watch content on YouTube, the headrest somehow is so far away that you actually have to try to kind of scoot up in the chair to reach it. In fact, Ryan scooted up so far, he tipped the chair backwards and broke the spine. Man, I wish we had footage for that. I'm curious how the next 30 days will go sitting in the Cougar. I'm not really sure this design is conducive to comfortable and productive office work, but I'm definitely going to give it a try. Now, the biggest disappointment for me here was the spine. It didn't have any function. It was purely aesthetic and honestly, prone to breaking if Ryan sits in your chair. But at $749, this chair is definitely overbuilt and likely to hold up well. I'll see you guys in 30 days.